Hey everybody, it's the dude here to bring you another video. This week we got a 90-minute jam-packed episode. This exact time last year, we got the 90-minute Morgan episode, just after the famous Glenn fake-out death. As far as a start to a season goes, Season 7 has had a much stronger beginning. The tension surrounding Daryl's fate is the right kind of tension, and being back in Alexandria had me stoked from the start. Alright, let's get into it. Here is my review and analysis of Season 7, Episode 4 of The Walking Dead, Service. The title Service is pulled straight from a line Negan says to Rick early on in this episode. But really it's about Rick entering this life of servitude. Not only is he serving Negan, but he is truly serving the Alexandrians by serving Negan. They might not get it yet, but Rick is making what Dwight would call the only choice. We open with Rick and Michonne in bed. Now, the last time we saw them, they were eating an apple in each other's arms. They were close. Now we see this distance between them. We can see that Michonne is restless, conflicted, and uncomfortable. So right off the bat, they set up this conflict between Rick and Michonne. Now, in the show, one of the biggest things they changed from the comic was the death of Andrea. In the comic, she's alive for a long time and is in a relationship with Rick. And in this point in the comic book storyline, Andrea does have doubts about Rick's leadership. Well, that's because Andrea wasn't in the lineup in the comic books. She wasn't there to see Glenn die. So just hearing about it, her first reaction is we should fight. But Rick, who was there, understands. So there is a difference between them in the books. But in the show, Michonne was there. I thought she said, "We understand." So you're telling me it's been a little over 3 days, and Michonne is now baffled by the decision Rick is making? Last season, Michonne was the one who cared about all the Alexandrians before Rick did. Why is she backtracking? It's probably just to fulfill Andrea's comic book storyline, and in my opinion, that's the wrong type of adaptation. Anywho, so Michonne's gearing up to go somewhere. She's got her bag and her sword, and wait, how did she get her sword back? Last time we saw it, she had it in the woods with Glenn. Then she got taken captive and then dropped off at the lineup, and then all the saviors left. When did she get it back? Plot hole. Michonne retrieves a rifle hidden in the fireplace and then sets off, leaving Rick alone. Right now, Rick needs Michonne's support more than ever, and this Negan visit is made all the more stressful because of this. Michonne heads out into a field with her rifle and perches herself on top of a rusty car. Back in Alexandria, Rick is caring for Judith, and it's a very sweet moment. Outside near the gates, Eugene is working on a little radio with a sad look on his face when Rosita and Spencer roll up. "We're going out to see if we can find anything when they come. You want to help?" Then we get Eugene's first line of the season. "I don't think I'd be up to that. I'm repairing this portable audio system for them. We'll have a perfectly respectable music player when they arrive." If Eugene is anything, he's consistent. I'll give it to him. I bet Negan really would have liked it if they had been playing music when he showed up. Once again, we see Eugene using what he's got. He's scared, and he's still shaken from Abe's death. Just then, Negan shows up. Now, this episode is jam-packed with lines and images pulled straight from the comic, and it's incredible to see this scene and Negan just brought to life in such a satisfying way. Little pig, let me in." Spencer is like, "Who are you?" "Oh, you better be joking. Negan? Lucille? I know I had to make a pretty strong first impression." Just then Rick shows up, and Rick, stop giving Negan that damn look. The "I'm gonna kill you" look. Do not make me have to ask. Rick's like, "You said a week. You're early." And he opens the gate. "I missed you." Negan told them a week so that they wouldn't be expecting 3 days, in case they wanted to pull something smart like attacking them. Negan turns and sees a zombie and kills it when Rick spots Daryl in the crowd. Rick's staring at him for a while, and Negan interrupts his eye contact. That is some service! We almost get turned away at the gate. Do I get mad? Do I throw a fit? Do I bash some ginger's dome in? Nope. I just take care of one of these dead pricks that could have killed one of y'all. Service. I call that a double line. That is when a character says a line once and then says it again to emphasize it more. It happens all the time in the show, so much so that I usually miss a couple every episode. Last episode I missed 2. One where Sherry says, "Whatever he did to you, there's more. There's always more." And then when Negan says, "I think you can be that guy. I think you are ready to be that guy." So that's ding ding, Negan hands Rick Lucille and then begins strolling through Alexandria. This is the ultimate of power trips that forces Rick to hold the weapon that killed Glenn and Abraham. This is all in an effort for Negan to assert his dominance. We know that he usually just sends his cronies out to get the pickups from the hilltop and the kingdom, but Alexandria is a fresh group and they started fighting back. So Negan has to do it personally. This whole service bit is kind of just a mind game for Rick, and it's a setup for when Negan at the end of the episode asks Rick to thank him. Rick turns to Daryl. Daryl, hey. Nope. He's the help. You don't look at him, you don't talk to him, and I don't make you chop anything off of him. Negan turns to Rosita. Same goes for everyone. Right. Rosita stares daggers at Negan before composing herself and walking away. Negan loves to just get a rise out of people. It's almost like he would just love them to try something. Rick says, we put aside half the supplies. No, Rick, no. Oh, another double line. You don't decide what we take, I do. Negan calls out, Arat, the only female savior there, steps forward and then orders all the men to get to work. This reminds me of a female savior in the comic book named Tara. We already have a Tara in the show, so it looks like they just reversed her name. Arat is Tara backwards. Next, Dwight stops. Rosita. Where are you going with your friend here? You know what? I don't care. Dwight takes all of their guns and then says, I got a job for you. Go get me Daryl's bike. You know where it is, right? We both know you know where it is. Hey, double line. Dwight takes Rosita's hat, pours out all their water, and then sends them on their way. Man, Dwight is being such an asshole. He's been in these people's shoes before. Maybe he's just playing the part. Whether or not he's genuinely an asshole doesn't really matter. Everything he says makes Rosita hate him more and more. In the comics, Abe leaves Rosita for a woman named Holly. Sasha doesn't exist, but because she got that relationship in the show, Holly got ridden out. There's really only one important thing that comic book Holly does, and that is, in an attempt to get revenge for Abe's death, she drives a truck through the Savior's fence, basically sacrificing herself to cripple their defenses. For a while now, I've thought that Tara could get this storyline to avenge Denise's death. But after this Rosita and Dwight scene, I wonder if Rosita could fill that role. Back in the field, Michonne is pulling a classic Tyrese, missing every bullet she sends at a zombie, until she has to just take it out with her sword. On her way back, she finds a dead deer. One of her stray bullets must have killed it. This reminds me when Carl got shot for the first time back in Season 2. Michonne wasn't there, so she wouldn't be able to have this parallel. So to her, it's just kind of another wasted life. Back at Alexandria, Negan gets a soda and cracks it open. This is one of the ones that Denise asked Daryl to find for her for Tara. Denise eventually risked her life to find these. Negan just takes a sip and drops it heavy on the ground. We see Daryl, but we don't see him react to this in any way. It's a little bit like he's stopped even listening to what Negan's doing because he knows that if he was to listen, he would get too riled up and do something stupid. One of Negan's men shows up and hands him Deanna's old camcorder that she used to interview all the new people coming to Alexandria. Very conveniently, it's paused on Rick's interview. Is that you, Rick? Underneath all that man bush? I would not have messed with that guy. He points the camera at Rick and hits record. But that's not you anymore, is it? Nope. He's doing something that he does all the time, and that's taking away someone's identity. Back at the Sanctuary, he makes everyone call themselves Negan, stripping them of who they once were. Here again, he's telling Rick that he's not the same person. I really gotta shave this shit. This is something he said to Abraham when Abraham stands up to him in the lineup. And a reference to the fact that in the comics, Negan makes a point of staying clean-shaven. Yet another thing that he feels like he can control. Whatever happened to that sick girl? The way she was carrying on, she was married to number 2, right? Careful. Careful how you're looking at me, Rick. Yeah, Rick, keep it the fuck together. Negan kind of starts taunting him about how he would have liked to take her back to the Sanctuary. The music in this episode is fantastic in creating tension, especially in these moments where Rick is trying not to just kill Negan with Lucille. I would love to see her. Do you care to pay your respects? Holy Gabriel! You are creepy as shit, sneaking up on me, wearing that collar with that freaky ass smile. Negan turns to Rick. She didn't make it? And for once, Rick's broken, I'm gonna kill you face helped him, and Negan thinks Maggie's dead. They've taken him to graves, and Rick keeps letting him think it. This is my favorite thing that happened in this episode. Rick lying to Negan about Maggie being dead. If and when he finds out, I don't even know. It's not in the comic book, so I'm just excited. Pretty sly of Gabriel to think of this in the first place and bury 3 graves instead of just 1. Maggie and Sasha took Abraham and Glenn's body to the hilltop, but if she had died, all 3 of them would be buried here. So, good thinking on his part. All of a sudden, a gunshot rings out, and damn it if Jeffrey D. Morgan doesn't give the scariest fucking stare in the whole planet. Negan treats Lucille like a person, almost like another side of him. He lets this darker side of him out through the Bat, and often blames the Bat for the terrible things he has to do. Lucille is a stickler for the rules. These right here are the eyes of Lucille. We find Carl aiming a gun at 2 of the saviors. He tells them to stop, that they're taking too much of their medicine. This was something Denise does in the books, but I'm super glad it was given to Carl. It's great to see Carl acting harshly when Rick is acting calm. The tension is killer in this scene. Negan refers to Carl's giant man-sized balls, which is a great line from the comics that I'm glad got in. After it all settles, Negan turns to Rick. You know, Rick, this whole thing reminds me that you have a lot of guns. There's all the guns you took from my outpost when you wasted all my people with a shit ton of your own guns, which adds up to an absolute assload of guns. And as this little emotional outburst has made crystal clear, I can't allow that. So tell me, Rick, where are my guns? This is another fantastic addition. Of course Negan would take all their guns. He doesn't do this in the comics, which is kind of strange now that I think about it. One big change from comic to show about the Saviors is that when they first show up, they only use melee weapons. They never let any of the community see them holding guns to make everybody think that they don't have any guns, but they actually do, and they're just saving them. But the first time we see the Saviors in the show, they're all carrying guns, so with that twist scrapped, it's nice to see Negan take away all their guns, so great change. Rick takes Negan to see Olivia and all the guns. Rosita and Spencer get back to the train tracks where Denise was killed, where Daryl left his bike to follow Dwight's tracks. While Spencer loads the bike up and blathers about how Rick is a terrible leader, Rosita stares into the woods before bolting into the forest. Back home, Daryl and the Saviors are loading guns up onto a truck when Negan spots a huge handgun and plucks it from Daryl. Let's see if you've been taking care of my gun. He points the gun at Daryl, all the while staring at Rick before he shoots out a window. He's probably still trying to gauge the effect that threatening Daryl has on Rick. He doesn't want these people to relax, to keep everyone in suspense that Negan's about to do something. Then Arad comes dragging Olivia along, says they're short, a Glock 9 and a .22 Bobcat. The face Rick gets, to me, looks like he knows where the guns are. But later we find out that that's not true. At first I thought that maybe the guns went with Maggie and Sasha, and that this was going to be one more step to Negan figuring out that Rick lied. But I guess this look was just a no shit. That's disappointing, Rick. Well, this shows that someone's not on board, and I can't have that. He turns to Olivia. I don't enjoy killing women. But at the end of the day, Olivia, my dear, this was your responsibility, and you screwed up. When we come back from a commercial break, Negan doesn't seem to have handled Olivia right away. I guess they skipped a scene where Rick was like, let me call a meeting where I can find the guns and get everybody on board. And Negan was just like, okay, I'll just sit here and wait with Olivia until you're ready. So Rick's talking to all of Alexandria, and we have lines and close-ups from the more or less spare Alexandrians that we've been missing for so long. Like boring couple, Scott, Eric, Aaron's boyfriend. Rick says, I thought about hiding the guns. I figured we'd bury some out there. Maybe we don't touch them for years. And Tobin gets his first line of the season. Years? Yeah, Tobin, some of us are gonna last years. I know that's hard for you to imagine, seeing as how you're probably not gonna make it out of the season. The people want to know how they're gonna get out of the situation, and Rick tells them, there is no way out of this. Let me put this to all of you as clearly as I can. I'm not in charge anymore. Negan is. Now where are the guns? It's good to see another town meeting with all the characters, except not everyone's here. Rosita is out in the woods stalking after some walkers when dumbass Spencer calls out to her, "Rosita!" The zombies swarm her, but she takes them all down. These were the saviors that died after Dwight killed Denise. Rosita knew that one of them would have a gun, and she was right, even though it's out of bullets. Spencer's being a bitch again about how there's nothing we can do about it, and we just have to make the deal. And Rosita's like, this is not our life. It's great to see the women of the show not fall in line when the men do. Carol doesn't fall in line when Morgan does. Michonne doesn't fall in line when Rick does. Rosita doesn't when Spencer does. And I bet Maggie and Sasha won't when Gregory does next episode. Next we see Rick searching through Spencer's house when Father Gabriel shows up all confidently and says, "We'll find the guns, and then we'll find a way to go forward. How to beat this. There is no beating. Yes, there is. I have faith in us. I have faith in you. Can I get a double line?" For the first time ever, Gabriel is standing behind Rick. He may be identifying with the idea that Rick isn't going to kill any more people, even though the last time we really saw Gabriel, he killed a man. So I'm not really sure what his motivation is, but it's good that Rick has his support and, as it seems, Aaron's. Especially when so much of the community disagrees with him, including Carl and Michonne. None of this seems to comfort Rick, however, and when they leave, he walks over to the window he looked out of after his interview with Deanna, when he first decided to become a part of Alexandria. Beneath his foot, a floorboard creaks, and inside he finds food, liquor, and the 2 guns. Well, that was pretty lucky. Pretty fortunate that everyone thinks Spencer sucks enough to focus the entire gun search in his house. Outside, creepy Davy is toying with Enid, not giving her green balloons back. These are balloons Enid got from Glenn. I can imagine Enid wanting to get to the hilltop as soon as possible to care for Maggie. This creepy guy has been in the episode a lot. He was standing next to a rot at the beginning, he was the one Carl was pointing the gun at, and now this Enid scene. In the comics, there's a creepy savior named David who actually tries to rape a woman at the sanctuary, and this is when we learn how against rape Negan really is. Next episode, it looks like Carl and Enid are going to be heading to the hilltop, but maybe that's not the whole story. Maybe they get picked up by the saviors on the way there, and they both go to the sanctuary. I think her and Creepy Davy haven't had their last scene. Carl looks to his father to defend Enid, but he says they'll be gone soon, causing a further rift between father and son. Rick hands the guns over to Negan and his men start to head out, just as Spencer and Rosita come back. Strangely, Negan pays no attention to them, but spots Michonne returning for practice. And Rick's like, "Give me a second." "No, please, can you just give me a second?" "Oh, double line," and Negan lets him. Rick runs over to where Michonne is. "I need the rifle. We have to give up our guns, all of them. If they find it, someone dies. I'm not losing you or Carl or anyone else. I'm not losing anyone else." Man, Rick is just full of those double lines. Michonne concedes and Rick gives the rifle to Negan. Good for you, Rick. This is reading the room and getting the message. Now that you know we can follow your rules, I'd like to ask you if Daryl could stay. You know what? Maybe Daryl can plead his case. Maybe Daryl can sway me. Daryl didn't do anything. Well, you tried. Why is Daryl not saying anything? Some people think maybe Negan cut his tongue out, which I think is ridiculous. I think that most likely Negan told him that if he said a word that wasn't, "I'm Negan," that he was going to kill whoever he talked to. So Daryl doesn't get a line this episode, but maybe there's more than meets the eye to Daryl. In the opening scene, when Michonne is packing up all her stuff, she walks by a poster, something that's new to Rick's house. It's the Morse Code alphabet. In movies and TV shows, nothing ever happens on accident. So why is that Morse Code poster there? Well, some people think that Daryl, throughout the episode, but mainly in one part, the first time Rick sees Daryl, that he is giving Rick a message through Morse Code. Well, there's a couple problems with this. One, when did they both learn Morse Code? Two, let's say I'm Daryl and I want to give Rick a message. How does Rick know when my blanks start to mean something? Do I need to be like, "and now"? And how do I know that Rick is even paying attention? And three, what could Daryl be telling Rick that could be of really any help? Is he telling him how many people the Saviors have? Well, he doesn't know that. Is he telling him where the sanctuary is? East 2 degrees. I don't think so, man. I think it's a cool idea, and I'll give it to you that Daryl's blinks are a bit much, but he doesn't do anything like that for the rest of the episode. Now, the Morse code poster being there in the first scene does make me think that it'll come up at some point during this season. Maybe they'll use it to communicate once the real conflict begins. But for right now, I'm saying that there's not enough to go on to say that Daryl has been communicating with Rick this whole episode. Now what you gotta do is earn from me. Because we're coming back soon, and when we do, you better have something interesting for us. Or Lucille, she's gonna have her way. I want to make this a double line. If you don't have something interesting for us, somebody's gonna die. But nobody died this episode, so it's probable that they're not going to have anything interesting and somebody's gonna die. Do you want me to go? I think that'd be good. Then just say those two magical words. Thank you. Don't be ridiculous. Thank you. Once again, Rick is gripping Lucille, and you can feel that he just wants to kill Negan. But the moment passes. How careless of me. You didn't think I was gonna leave Lucille, did you? I mean, after what she did, why would you want her? Thank you for being so accommodating, friend. And in case you haven't caught on, I just slid my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it. Ooh, yeah! I am so glad that this line got in. I mean, holy cow. I did not think that they were going to say that. In the comics, Negan first says that in the lineup. He says, look at you, you're missing a hand, you're nearly invincible. I should stick my dick down your throat and make you thank me for it. Then I'll get everybody in line, and then he says it again here. So when they cut it out of the lineup scene, I figured that they were never going to do it. But I'm happy it got in. Negan leaves and Rick looks to the sign on the gates of Alexandria. Mercy for the lost, vengeance for the plunderers. Rick is at his lowest point and feels like he doesn't even stand for that anymore. Rick goes up to Spencer and tells him that he found the 2 missing guns in his house. Spencer's like, you went into my house? They were gonna kill Olivia. Listen, I'm not gonna fault you for stealing the guns. I did it myself, but the food and the liquor, that's 'cause you're small, Spencer. You're weak. You got lucky with the walls. Got lucky with us. And he turns off. Spencer yells out to him, so, I guess Glenn and Abraham were lucky? Huh? And Rick stops. We don't see his face, but we hear him. You ever say anything like that to me again? I'll break your jaw, make you choke on your teeth. This is strikingly similar to something Rick says to Shane in Season 2, when he's trying to keep him away from Lori and Carl. Way back then, Rick had a different sensibility, and he clashed with Shane, but many fans have wondered whether Rick has slowly been becoming Shane. More than that, this type of thing to say to Spencer that he's small and weak is something that Negan would say. I think that Negan has established a pecking order, and Rick is letting out some of his frustrations on Spencer. Shane is coming through him. Negan is coming through him. He's losing his identity, just like Negan wants. It's a powerful moment that sets Rick on a path and Spencer. Spencer tells Rosita that Rick is no good, that he's going to get them all killed. But of course Rosita heard this whole conversation and now knows that Spencer was hiding these 2 guns from her, so she dumps his ass for being an idiot and gets the gun she smuggled in, the last gun in Alexandria. Back in Rick's room, he's laying sheets down to act as a mattress when Michonne shows up. First, she seems like she doesn't want to get into an argument, and she almost leaves before coming back. Everything we got from fighting. I made the choice. There's not enough of us. It's about numbers. There's the hilltop. They still have the numbers. It's interesting that all the communities think like this. The hilltop can't stand alone. The kingdom is afraid. The people at the sanctuary are suppressed out of fear. And now Alexandria. But together. Rick pauses and then he starts to tell her about Shane. It's crazy to think that Michonne actually never met Shane and Lori. Him and Lori, they were together. I know Judith isn't mine. I know it, but I love her. She's my daughter. She isn't mine. This is in part a reference to something Lori says to Rick in a tent at the farm. When he asks about the baby, she says, even if it's not yours, it's yours. I had to accept that so I can keep her alive. This is how we live now. I had to accept that too so I could keep everyone else alive. You have to accept this. And Michonne sits down and helps him make the bed. This is something you don't expect to see in Season 7 of a show. But to find out that Rick for so long has known that he wasn't the father is really powerful. And it perfectly encapsulates what's going through his mind in this whole Negan situation. He's doing it for someone else. He's being selfless. For Michonne to hear about this for the first time, it also boosts their relationship. At the beginning of the episode, they started apart, and now they're getting stronger. Back in the field without a gun, she notices smoke rising from behind her. The Saviors have burned all of the mattresses they took from Alexandria. This is the cherry on top of the big fuck you that this episode was to Rick's people. They took their shit, but they did not need it. Last, we see the bullet casing from when Negan shot through the window. Rosita picks it up and takes it to Eugene. Make me a bullet. This is the beginning of so much good stuff. Now, without any bullets, it's up to Eugene, someone who at the beginning of the episode felt like he didn't have any more to offer the group except to build a radio. Now, basically, the total defense of Alexandria relies on his ability to create bullets. Now, this specific bullet casing wouldn't actually work in the gun Rosita found, but I'm sure they'll figure something out. Alright. Fantastic episode. Jam-packed, all the characters at Alexandria, characters we haven't seen in a really long time, and the tension is just starting to build. No one died, so some could call this a filler episode, but damn it if this wasn't the best filler episode ever. Please join me back here next week for my in-depth review of episode 5. Tell me what you thought of this episode down in the comments section. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and better yet, go out and talk to somebody about this episode. Discuss the theories. Get excited. Since I've started this YouTube channel, I've done all my Walking Dead talking to a lens, and honestly, best and purest way to do it is in person. So everybody have a nice long week of theorizing. This has been The Dude. See ya.